What's up? I'm out here in the real world today. You're probably used to seeing me jacked into the Matrix, cycling kitted up, and in a completely virtual world. So today what I'm going to do is try and build a dedicated PC for my indoor cycling setup to make that whole virtual world look a little bit better. Now, if you watch my channel, you probably race Zwift, ride Zwift, or you just like gaming. And if you're someone who's a gamer who sees Zwift, you're probably thinking, why does this game look like it looks? Not great, depending on the setup. Zwift is a weird game. It's sort of a cycling simulator or training tool that slowly turned into an MMO over time. And one thing Zwift has done is really try to keep the barrier to entry really low. So it works with almost any bike, almost any trainer setup. There's good and bad to that I can talk about in another video. But what I'm going to talk about today is the fact that you can run Zwift on a phone. Zwift is basically programmed to run on a phone. It's basically optimized to run on the simplest devices, phones and tablets. And then it sort of scales up from there based on what device you're on. So there are actually several different levels of resolution for the game, but then there are also two different graphics profiles, basic or ultra, which is confusing because there's also ultra HD, which is a totally different thing. But based on which system you're using, it automatically chooses a graphics profile, and that's going to control things like the depth of the shadows, the depth of the textures, and then the resolution controls the sharpness. So if you've been watching my channel and you've been watching my Zwifting, I'm kind of on a middle-of-the-road setup. I can run things in 1080 HD, but if I'm also recording or streaming, I generally bump my quality down a little bit because the last thing you want in the middle of a race is to be dropping frames and things are stuttering and lagging, and you can't keep track of where you are in the pack, stuff like that. So I've gotten onto the ZPCMR forum. Shout out to those guys. They have walked me through how to build a budget PC that's going to run Zwift, hopefully in 1440, 60 frames a second, and the ultra profile. So my hope here is that you guys will see a difference in the quality of my videos once I get this thing built. And I'm really focusing on Zwift because Zwift is a very weird particular program. Because it's sort of scaled to run on a phone, there are actually some parts of the hardware that don't require much at all, and then other parts where if you really optimize it, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So I'm trying to, like I do with everything, get the most bang for my buck, and I'm going to try to build a PC that will run Zwift in 1440 ultra profile, 60 frames a second, and stream and record for under $400 hopefully. So parts I've got here, going to do a little unboxing. This is the most important thing in a Zwift PC build. This is the graphics card. I've got a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650. This will be the cornerstone of the PC. My cat is eyeballing me here because she wants this box. I'm gonna pull that out. I'm gonna give the box to the cat. I'm not even so much doing a full build as I am cobbling together two main parts. The other big thing I've got here is a refurbished business desktop. This is an HP 8300 Elite. It has an i5 processor, 240 gigs SSD, 8 gigabytes of RAM, which for a gaming PC, 8 gigabytes of RAM doesn't sound like enough, but that's one of those things that Zwift is designed to run on the simplest setups, so it really doesn't take much RAM to run Zwift. It's not pretty. This is what we got. We're in the pain cave now, aka the second bedroom. This is the top of my workbench that I use sort of as my Zwifting space, and this is the rest of the build here. This is a monitor that I bought off one of my gaming friends. It's a BENQ, I don't know how you say that, but it's a 27 inches 1080p monitor. Bought this guy for $50, and then it's connected to this swivel arm that I have clamped onto the workbench here. And the swivel arm I also bought used off the same guy for $30, but you can get these new on Amazon. Whole build is still coming in under $400. And a lot of people have asked me what my setup is, so you can kind of see, put the monitor where I want it. Got my bike over here. This allows for airflow. Under here, I take that fan, flip it around, but then also when I want to get my bike in and out of the setup, it's pretty easy to get my monitor out of the way. I got to boot this guy up, install Windows, and install the drivers, which should be pretty boring. So everything's installed, all the drivers are updated. Next thing we got to do is install the graphics card itself. And we run into the first snag of the day here, which is I got the case off, but the little mechanism here that's supposed to actually release this, it won't let go. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about this. I don't know. I hope I haven't screwed anything up by wrenching on this too hard. So I got the case open. This little guy was bent. It's bent up. So when I'm pulling on this, it wasn't sliding back far enough to clear the little metal lip here. I hope I didn't screw anything up. Guess we'll find out. So here's the card itself. First thing I got to do is swap this bracket for this bracket. The low profile bracket will actually fit in this smaller PC. Should be as easy as taking out these little screws right here, and then these two guys, and replace. So I think I've just plopped the card down into the right slot here. That's new. Got the outputs over here. I think I've done it. So I haven't gotten the case back on it yet, but I did hook everything up. I got my two monitors. I've installed ZWIFT, and everything seems to be working. Despite being wide open, this computer is running all the programs, got the drivers installed. So I guess the next thing to do is I'm going to load ZWIFT up, do some recording, and we'll see how it looks. Folks, I think we've done it. This is actually running the game in 1440 and then recording it in 1080. But this was basically like a couple of minutes after the first time I fired this machine up, so I haven't even really messed around with the OBS settings to get it nailed down, and you can tell it looks way better than my previous stuff, and that's the ultra graphics profile. For comparison, here is some old race footage from a random race I never really put out, but you can see here one big thing you'll notice is that none of the riders themselves have shadows. All of the shadows coming off the trees and stuff are a lot more static. The textures of everything are a lot flatter. My frame rate is going in and out there. Flip back over here, much smoother. I mean, look at the texture of the road. You can see everything's rendering really far into the distance. You can see all of the mountains and stuff, just kind of jumping around to some different, like the buildings look better. So to bring it back to that original point, all the parts together come to $390. And here we are, Zwifting in 1440. And, you know, on the monitor I'm looking at, it looks even better than this recording looks. I think it's going to take a little bit of tinkering to make sure that my recordings always look this good and that I can run this in group events or stream this well. But honestly, if I can stream in 1080 and 30 FPS really consistently, that would be a huge improvement. So if you want to see some crispy live streams or some race breakdowns, Zwift tips and strategy type stuff, subscribe to the channel. If you've got any questions about the build, ask me in the comments. But we did it, y'all. Zwifting on a budget. Shout out again, Dave and the ZPCMR guys. Thanks.